The John Lebang Show has been known to make people laugh, sing, think, scream, throw things in rage, and generally lose their minds. Listener discretion is advised.
Worldwide and out to the greater universe, you're listening to The John Lebang Show.
Hope you all came with your little thinking caps today, because we're going to do a little bit of learning today. That's right, because you've heard a lot of things going on, and we're going to be talking about as much as we can, at least this hour, but we really have to get on this little thing called the Great Reset. Have you heard about that? I'm sure many of you have heard that term being bandied about. And this move, as we've seen in recent weeks especially, but over the last few years, as they're getting people more accustomed to these cryptocurrencies, and I even hear the YouTubers out there, the ones that are supposedly patriots out there, getting on board with the cryptocurrencies, going over there to get some cryptocurrency, right? Crypto. Nobody is aware, or maybe they just don't care to understand what the word crypto means and what this is all leading to. And how it's all part, and many do, but they're promoting it instead of, fighting against it. So it may be inevitable to them, and that's maybe their thought process. But let's learn you a little something about the word crypto. I don't know if you know what the definition of the word crypto is, but here it is. Crypto, or at least one of the definitions, and this is the one we're going to focus on, and that's a person having a secret allegiance to a political creed, especially communism. Oh, now look at that, folks. So anything that is related to anything crypto is something that's secretly communistic. Do you understand what I'm talking about now? So all of you out there who are promoting this cryptocurrency are promoting the Great Reset. You hear a lot of people talking against the Great Reset, but then get your money out of cryptocurrency, because that is the financial backbone of modern day communism. So the more you support it, the more you put into these cryptocurrencies, the more you're supporting the Great Reset, the more you're supporting communism. You're financially supporting communism. And if they get enough of us to buy into that, they're going to push everybody else in. They're going to force it along, which that's the plan anyways. It's always been a secret plan. We had Operation Ballot Box. That formed the merging of 13 and 31. And now we're seeing the next step of that. Of course, we have the impeachment. Ooh, I shouldn't say that. You don't want to use the words that are going to trigger Uncle Al Gore. You just don't want to get that going. But actually, we have new terms this week. If you've been following along with the show the last few weeks, we've developed a page on the website, and we're updating that weekly on new terms and new words we're using to help get us around Uncle Al Gore. And if you don't know what that is, and you need to catch yourself up, go to our website, www.jlebang.com, and there's a link there called Code C. Check it out. And if you're hearing terms on this show that you are unfamiliar with, that's because we're using a language of sorts to get around Uncle Al Gore. But to get back to the sham impeachment, hopefully that doesn't wake up Uncle Al Gore there, the sham impeachment comes out, an orange man wins again. And the hypocrites, the whole bunch of them for that matter, all walked lockstep, disregarding that half the electorate, if you go by the numbers that were given to us by the, from the Operation Ballot Box scenario there. If you go by that, nearly half the voting population was in favor of Orange Man, and yet trying to do some kind of sham impeachment that had no basis in the Constitution at all, because it says right there in the Constitution, to be impeached, you have to be president, vice president, and so on and so forth, a actual government official. And since the Operation Ballot Box was the most successful thing the hypocrites have done in the last 5 years, well, the Orange Man was no longer president. And that's why this one didn't last as long. Did you notice that this one didn't last as long as the sham impeachment the first time? Because they had less evidence. And I know many of the linguini fonts over there, Mitwit and others, Mitwit's a new term, you can check out what that means over there, but that one's pretty self-explanatory. And I didn't follow the sham impeachment this time around because it was a farce. Anybody who knew anything that followed it knew that right over there on 1-6, the Capitol Police, on some level, let the Trumpsters and others into the building themselves. They just let them in. Did all of them? No, of course not. But some did. And that was well-known evidence. In fact, it hit the mainstream news. People were let go from their jobs. And the only reason they could have been let in, folks, is there's only 3 people in charge of that Capitol Police, really. It's, Mudface over there. That's a new term. And the Wicked Witch. Those 2. And the Sergeant at Arms. Those are the only 3 people that really could have given out the orders to allow people in. And they allowed them in right at the time that they were going to put out the evidence to the country. So you see, ladies and gentlemen, despite what they produced during the sham impeachment and the defense of Orange Man, his attorneys did a great job. They didn't even have to work very hard. That's why it shut down quickly, folks. They were like, yeah, let's get this over with because we can't drag this out. The American people are going to see what a sham impeachment this is. But it was to keep you all distracted once again because, well, they had to keep you distracted while they were doing other things. And there's been a lot of things going on. They still have some sort of military presence inside the Capitol. Do you think a legitimate government would actually do that? Do you think a legitimate government that knew what the evidence was would even bring a sham impeachment to the country, wasting our time? The malpractice media, once again, wasted our time by giving it wall-to-wall coverage. I was so sick of it. Everywhere you went that had a TV, the sham impeachment was on. And I didn't follow it because you know what? I already knew the evidence. Just like I already knew Operation Ballot Box was going to happen, as we told you it was going to happen, before it actually happened. That's why I wonder what Orange Man was thinking. Did he really want to sit in that seat? Did he really want that position anymore? Because if I knew it, he should have known that Operation Ballot Box was going to take place. Didn't do anything about it. Very much like a lot of the things he did that are now being erased by Joe Petto. Joe Petto just like going in there, executive orders right out the door. Piling them up. More executive orders than what, the past 3 or 4 combined? 3 or 4 POTUSes, 13s. So Joe Petto at 13, being controlled by 31, of course, that's why we're in the process of 44. If you don't know what that is, ladies and gentlemen, again, we're speaking in a language that Uncle Al Gore is going to have trouble deciphering, at least for a little while. So go to our website to check out the terms so you can catch up. Because otherwise we say certain words and then we get disclaimers at the bottom of our videos or on our videos or in our posts because they think they're the masters of information. And if we allow them and we continue to speak the language that they know, they are going to be the masters of information and less is going to get out. Speaking of that, though, we hear about all these channels and all these people being deplatformed and all that. Yet I see all these YouTubers that consider themselves patriots, and I'm wondering, patriots of who? But they've been sharing information that not only damaged the efforts of the former POTUS, the former 13, to retain his position, but they're also backing the cryptocurrencies. And I'm like, whoa. Patriots are not going to back cryptocurrencies. They're going to back constitutional money. But these patriots aren't. See, I've been watching these guys a long time. And I'm really starting to figure many of these guys out. And if I say their names on here, then their little minions are going to go run to them. And some of them are pretty technically savvy. And they'll come attack you through different means. They'll find out who you are, where you're at. So you got to be codes words with them too. But if I were you, ladies and gentlemen, and I get lots of people sharing me information from a lot of different sources, you guys need to take a little bit closer look at who you're following. See what they said. If they're deleting videos of past things they've said or making them private, it's probably because they set you down a course or they were telling you things that was a bunch of hogwash and they don't want you to remember. Of course, I've got a great memory, so I'm one of the best at remembering what these different little voices will say, the ones that I can take the time to follow. And I'll follow more enemies to what I believe in than I'll follow the people I like, because I don't want to just get caught up in just listening to one person who I agree with. You got to know your enemy. And then you got to know the people that you don't know if they're your enemy, but you have questions about them. And right now what I've seen is if they're not deplatformed, if they're not being shadow banned one way or another, if they're allowed, this is a really good one, ladies and gentlemen, if they're allowed to make money on these platforms, they're probably not actually a patriot. Probably not. And whatever information they're giving out could be very much like AJ. Give out nuggets and nuggets of information that has basis in fact, and then send you off into a direction once they have your confidence. And you got to watch out for that. That's why I tell you, don't believe anybody unless you can prove it to yourself that what is being produced, whether it be in the malpractice media or in the alternative media, wherever it might be, if you can't do the diligent work to find out all the information involved and you're sharing stuff, all you're doing is being part of the problem. And right now, there's so much information that's not 100% factual. But we'll get into that on the other side of this.
Hey, Uncle Shady, where are they going? Hey, you, get back here. The John Lebang Show will be right back.
Are you in need of commercial or residential window cleaning? Do you need your office cleaned? Maybe custodial work? How about some gutter cleaning? If you do, then call Pane in the Glass. For a beautiful shine that's crystal clear, call Pane and the Glass. You can find them on Facebook at Pane and the Glass.
You're listening to the John Lebang Show.
It's better than an iReader convention.
So now that we understand that anything related with crypto is secretly communist-based, how can any of you out there put your so-called money, that fiat dollar, all you're trading is one fake money for another? Because the Constitution, it says that fiat dollar isn't real money. Well, we did get the Federal Reserve Act and the amendment that basically says we all have to pay income tax. Because when everybody's not there, they love doing this. You know, when some sham is going on, when something goes on the weekend in D.C. We saw it. You know what? They all during the week, they got the show Impeachment, right? But when the verdict came down, when was it? Oh, it was on the weekend. So nobody would, or very little people, would pay attention to the fact that it was over. And they just hope it'll slip it away, and they'll just talk about how all the bad things that the Orange Man supposedly incited. Yet the impeachment will be swept, the sham impeachment will be swept away again. And all we'll hear is all the negativity about it. And that the cowardly linguini fonts wouldn't stand up to the Orange Man. It's a farce, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why the only time I really caught anything was either through a YouTube video that I just wanted to catch up on real quick, or in these places that have TVs, and that's all they gave you was wall-to-wall sham impeachment, the show trial. And again, they wasted our time. So really, the hypocrites have failed on practically everything they've done to get rid of the Orange Man except Operation Ballot Box. And that's because they found a way to manipulate things to their favors in districts where they had a stronghold. And they could add in numbers. That's, by all the evidence I've seen, ladies and gentlemen, and I know that mainstream malpractice media won't produce it, and I know the courts wouldn't allow it in, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. That means the courts were too cowardly to take on something of this magnitude, because it would have shook the earth if this was exposed. And too many of these people are so deeply rooted into the corruption, and they're so bought and paid for, or maybe they have done something in their past that people know about, have pictures. Maybe they hung out with the Epstein dude, and so they're compromised. And they didn't want to take on that responsibility to do the right thing, because the right thing is far more difficult than the easy thing. The easy thing is what we got out of the courts. They punted it. The legislatures that took the time saw clearly that there were major issues with how things were tallied. But it's too late now, isn't it? Nothing we can do about it. And now that 13 is in the hands of 31, which I believe all sides were a part of, because I'm not sure the Orange Man really put in a solid effort to make sure that he would return to be number 13. And in some ways, 45 is both. And I had a listener bring up something to me, which is very interesting. But in the German language, there's a word called Biden. You just add an E in there to make it more German, and that means both, which fits in with what we've been telling you all along about 1331, 44. And on 4-4, we might see an 8. And that 8 might bring us the cryptocurrency we're telling you is coming. Because the Great Reset is coming. And it's based on the crypto perspective, ladies and gentlemen. This is the crypto clan. 31 is the head of it. They have now brought in an ally and control 13. It's clear as day, ladies and gentlemen. You don't have to look into some kind of conspiracy theory for that. You can see it. It's in your face. They're even telling you the cryptocurrency is going to be the primary financial business transaction. Way of life in the future. Not a constitutional money, because the Constitution doesn't say that that's the money. And in fact, for that to be the money, legally, we have to do a constitutional convention and change the Constitution to make that happen. This can't just happen because business-related entities and political-leaned syndicates want it to happen. You can't change that unless you destroy the Constitution. And isn't that what we're seeing along the way here, ladies and gentlemen? The Impeachment was a trampling of the Constitution. Orange Man is no longer a government official. If they were to try this in a real place of law, with real lawyers, with a real judge and real jury, a whole different story would be discovered. And they don't want that. So they put on the show trial, the show impeachment. And the verdict came out on the weekend. That way, they can still run with the narrative. Less people are busy on the weekend. They know that. Less news is taken in. What a sham. And the American people, if you ain't seeing this by now, ladies and gentlemen, your head's in the snow. Like the metaphor, because we've been under snow for weeks now in tremendous cold here in the Antarctic of Michigan. It's been awful. But if you can't see clear as day what is happening, they don't care. They're running roughshod over everything constitutional, everything freedom-loving, anything that is not there or in their agenda. And that's going to be the Great Reset as well. And we as constitutional loving Americans need to reject it on every level. Do not get involved in the crypto market. Pull your money from it. Because it's a secret communist financial system. And if that is allowed to take place, if that is allowed to grab hold and be common, there will be no more freedom for you, your family, your friends, any of us. But this is not financial advice, ladies and gentlemen, because I do not do that. This is an explanation of where this is all based from, where this is coming from. This is the communist future that you supposedly are against. So when you tell your followers that the cryptocurrency is a thing they better get into because that's where we're headed, you're not fighting against the tyranny. You're joining. You're a joiner. Of course, that's up to you. We don't give that kind of advice here financially. If you want to get involved and make a buck on that, that's up to you. But just know that you are supporting a secret communist agenda that is slowly, more apparently, not so secret. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, crypto could be another word for a cult. It's a little more politically correct. They can't call it a cult currency, so they call it cryptocurrency. But there's a secret agenda behind it. And unless you want that agenda, then you better change the way you're thinking about that stuff. My opinion. But we have to get off the fiat currency as well. Because that's all it's going to replace. It's going to be more fiat than the fiat currency. And just think, when everything's digital, and maybe you have a sign that promotes Orange Man or somebody they don't like as much as Orange Man, you know what I'm saying? All of a sudden, all those digits could be wiped away, and what are you going to do about it? Nothing you can do about it. Gone. Poof. And that's because you supported this. People are going to get mad. I can make a buck. Make a buck all you want. Just know that what this crypto future, the people who support the crypto clan, where they're leading us, and that is into full-blown communism. And supporting it, as I've said and resaid, is supporting a communist future. And if that's what you want, you go right ahead and do it. I'm not for it. We're going to take a quick time out, folks. 2 segments done. We'll be right back.
Don't move a muscle.
The John Lebang Show will be right back.
With lots of fun and excitement. Yes!
Jim's Tuxedo and Menswear is your one-stop shop for tuxedos and men's quality suits. We go the extra mile to make sure your tux or suit is the perfect fit. Our huge selection is second to none in the state.
Looking good.
Outstanding customer service.
And we're located on Dix Toledo in Southgate. Call today, 734-285-3253.
Jim's Tuxedo and Menswear is the place to be.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming to Jim's Tuxedos and Menswear.
You know I had to come to the best.
That's right.
Hey, man, it's at the bottom of the hour, man. Do you know where your kids are, man?
If you want to contact the John Lebang Show, feel free to send an email to jlebang@live.com. And if you're on Twitter, look him up at John Lebang. And don't forget to go to his Facebook page at The John Lebang Show. Banger. Now here's John.
So I guess we could change topics. All related in some fashion or another, I guess, because it's the current state of affairs. But don't you love the people that just come on and tell you, give you the what fors? We've talked about that. Maybe we'll make that as part of the little C code terms there. Somebody that just comes on and gives you whatever, criticize you for whatever, right? We're doing the videos, and you go to their channel and they don't have any videos posted. They may have a playlist of other people's videos, but they don't have the guts to put their face out here. They don't have their guts to put their voice out. They just want to tuck behind the keyboard. You're a really mean person. You're insensitive. I get that all the time. You're insensitive. When did the truth become insensitive? Apparently in this day when everybody's butthurt about everything, nobody can have any free speech here. And it's not like you're out there saying there's a fire when there's not a fire. If you're just speaking the truth a little bit, no matter what it is, even if some lady in a car accident is pretty big and the firefighters are having a hard time getting her out, you're not allowed to say, well, those firefighters are having a hard time because she's a little on the big side. It's the honest to God truth, but you're not allowed to say it because somebody's feelings might get hurt. And I'm so sick of it. We're not allowed to have freedom of speech because some people get butthurt over specific words. And they're always like a trigger word, right? We can't have a free society if we're going to get butt hurt over words. Americans are not supposed to get butt hurt over words. There used to be a saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Am I the only one that lives by that motto, that creed anymore? Because everybody, I shouldn't say everybody, a lot of people get butthurt over every certain thing on the planet. They just pick a word out. Man, I'm going to get upset about that. Gonna get sad. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Well, give me a break. Freedom means we need to toughen up a little bit, folks, and that's maybe the problem. That may be the problem with everything, is that we have lost our backbone. And we think the conservative party, the one with the most linguini spines of them all, is the backbone party, right? I fail to see how we're gonna make it as a nation if we can't handle words. Some people say some pretty nasty words. And you know what that should do? Bounce off. It's like the people who complained about the orange man and his twits. Are you on the twit? If you're not on the twit, why does it matter? Because the malpractice media told you to be mad? Because there was a twit by the orange man that made them mad? Or that they manipulated, as we saw in the impeachment? They literally made up tweets. You can't make this stuff up. In the day and age where so much information can be found at the click of a button, right? People are going to make fakery stuff And apparently people believe it. It's that you're that gullible. When most of this stuff can be easily found out. I guess when they cancel the Orange Man, you can't see those twits he made. So you can't verify that those twits ever happened. The whole thing's like the greatest show on earth. And again, I got that from Monty. That's what it is. And I'm sure that's not Monty's original creation. But it's the greatest show on earth. It's just a bunch of games. Everything's just made for TV drama. And what's going to be the next thing? Now that the impeachment is over, what's going to be the next thing that we're going to have to deal with? Because you know they're cooking that up if it's not already cooked up. And we'll get it in the next week, whatever it might be. They might be a temporary story. You know how that goes. Something to kind of fill the gap until they come up with something good, to get everybody fired up. And you fall for it, and we fall for it all the time. Keep it up. Perpetually living in their world. Never ever going to change a dang thing because their world is so much fun. Their world provides you Super Bowl. Their world provides you video games. Their world provides you nothing besides things to take up your time and to cost you money. And what happens in all that? They make the money. They keep you going back for more. It's the perfect drug deal. Perfect drug deal. They offer it to you in different methods, too, because they know they have to have a wide selection of drugs to keep the masses happy. And it's never going to change. Not like anybody with my caliber of voice, with my small audience. I'm not going to change anything. I've come to that conclusion long ago. You know what I'm saying? It's a thing. I just got to deal with it. But I'm going to keep the show going. And with the changes coming up and everything. But I keep the show going because at least now it's kind of like therapy session for me. And if you want to get all the nitty gritties of everything else, then you can literally go somewhere else. But if you want somebody who's giving you a perspective on what's happening here, there, everywhere, then, well, you're going to come and listen. And I appreciate everybody who tunes in. I know I'm not the most popular, the most articulate, but you're getting real with me. Unless we do, some of our comedy bits, of course. But you know what I mean. We're dealing with the malpractice media. We've got Joe Petto with the propaganda pulpit. You see him out there in his jeans. He's just walking around. Dementia time. I'm Joe Petto. All right, man. It's just like, are we not watching? Like, don't the American people get it by now? Like, you talk to some people and they get it. Other people are like, huh? Just walking around. Joe Petto, Joe Petto, Joe Petto, Joe Petto, Joe Petto. Yeah. And it's kind of making me doubt humanity. I thought the American mindset was about freedom, and it doesn't seem that way. It seems that the propaganda has ripped through most Americans' understanding of what being an American really means. We can't get mad or upset because somebody says words. It's not like the words are making people. That was the whole thing with the sham impeachment. I almost said it. That was the whole thing with the sham impeachment. Orange Man's free speech did nothing to incite whatever happened there. And any credible investigation of the matter would have brought to the attention to the American people that someone gave orders to a bunch of people to let a flood of people in. Let's do it that way. And sure, there were incidents of violence, and those should be dealt with appropriately. But have you noticed, ladies and gentlemen, that some of these officers, and this is a red flag for yours truly, but some of these officers have now committed suicide, oddly enough. That's not been widely reported. But, you know, just say Joe Petto's crime family is not a whole lot different than the Hillary crime family, the Clinton crime family. They come from the same place and mindset. And so maybe, just possibly, these suicides are a Clinton-style version of suicide, right? Not saying they're not suicides. I'm just saying there's different ways you can be suicided, right? I'm just saying. Just wondering if maybe these officers knew too much. Because when you move towards communism, as some YouTubers have pointed out, when you move towards communism, the people who know too much have to go away. That's like a traditional sign of communism. Oh, you know too much, you were part of the plan. If it gets out, that's going to be bad for us. So thank you, comrade. Now goodbye. Bye-bye. We like to make a deal with you. If you die, then we don't have no problem. So see what we mean? You got to die. You know, hey, just listen. It's all part of the plan. Yes, all part of the plan. Yes, thank you very much. Goodbye, comrade. And I know I'm making light of it, but it is absolutely a propaganda machine right now. And to believe anything that's in the mainstream malpractice media without double checking their work or without double checking the work of whoever you get your opinions or news from, well, it's going to be a lot of trouble if you're following the wrong paths, which we have seemed to have been following for a long time. And number 17 and on is still going about. People are still talking about 17 and on. Like, that was part of the plan or something. And I'm like, folks, it's about time you give up on 17 and on. Because whatever the plan was supposed to be, it didn't turn out exactly like you were hoping, did it? Unless you think the plan was to allow Joe Petto to take office. Then what side of the plan are you on? We have to ask. Are you on the side of freedom, or are you on the side of the plan that's taking away freedom? Or making you believe that something great is going to happen when it won't. It's not going to happen. Everything that the Orange Man put in place is being dismantled before your very eyes. And it's being done at breakneck speed with ease. And someone told you years ago that is not how you go about solidifying a plan to make the country better. Writing off EOs all the time does nothing for the long-term success of any plan. That being said, folks, we're up against our next break. We're going to take a quick time out. Fourth segment. I don't know what we're going to talk about. Maybe the same stuff. Whatever it is, we'll do it right after this.
Smoke 'em if you got 'em.
Because the John Lebang Show will be right back.
After this.
That's guaranteed.
Yes! Absolute Skin and Body Care, located in Livonia, Michigan. If you're in need of laser hair removal, skin care, laser tattoo removal, or laser hair regrowth, call Absolute Skin and Body Care. They're located at 37625 Ann Arbor Road, Suite 105 in Livonia, Michigan. Their phone number is 248-533-0448. Absolute Skin and Body Care. Give them a call. You're listening to the John Lebang Show. It's huge. Now I got to tweet about it. Those watching on the Banger Cam might notice we have a little different angle going on right here. Well, we're in a little bit of transition in the studio, and we're putting in some new lighting, and I think the people watching can see that the lighting is getting a little bit better in the room here, and we're going to do some soundproofing on the back wall. We, again, are in transition, so the videos will look kind of weird for a little bit, but, you know, whatever. You can see the whole transition as it happens right here. And it's kind of a transition period for everything right now, especially the broadcast will be. And I want you all to go to the website, www.jlebang.com. You already should know that, but I want you to go to that website to get the updated schedule, which is going to be happening really soon. And we're going to be transitioning to that in probably the next week or so. All the schedule is going to be flopping around here, and we were going to do it at the beginning of the year, but we decided that, you know, it's just better that we do it as we're ready and not try to force it. And we had a lot going on with the Banger Music Awards and other things going on, and especially in our personal life and everything else. It's just like, okay, we'll ride it out the best we can. And we're going to actually get to that transition real soon, and we're going to see how it goes. And if it works out well, then maybe we'll expand on it or whatever. But yeah, go to the website to find that out. Joe Petto and his administration asking a bunch of Orange Man's appointees to step down. These are attorneys. They don't want them in. It's also very reminiscent of how they were like checking out the National Guard troops to figure out who was a big T-Man supporter and who wasn't. There seems to be especially right now, a purging of sorts happening. They're going to clear out everybody they do not trust. That's something the Orange Man never really did, and in fact, he brought in plenty from from prior administrations, prior deep staters, which always bothered a lot of us who really didn't understand why he was going back to the well that he supposedly was trying to drain. And now, looking back, Orange Man didn't really drain a whole lot besides making it clear, removing some of the water, some of the murkiness, and making it clear who and who is not pro-Constitution, pro-government, who is what many would call the deep state. That's probably going to bother Uncle Algo right there himself. And we're going to continue to see purging on not only social medias, but other platforms if you have a specific stance. And we've talked about this before. Many others have talked about this. But it really boils down to they're going to keep us distracted as much as they possibly can. And over the next few weeks, we're going to see the new subject in the malpractice media that the propaganda pulpit will push on the rest of us. And even if it's one of those transition stories that's just there, or two or three of them, to carry us on until the next big one where they can focus everybody's attention, then that's what's going to happen. And it doesn't matter, because it seems like the alternative media continues to follow along and parrot what the mainstream malpractice media does. And has anybody, because it seems rather odd to me that the whole Epstein thing is really not brought anything to justice whatsoever. Maybe some small time, but none of the big, even though we've seen pictures and there's logs of certain people going to the island, the just us scenario seems to be here. And once again, working for the just us community. And no agency at all is making any real headway. In our federal government up there, what have they done since they now hold all the power? Remember, the Hippocrats own everything now. Their first order piece of agenda was to have Joe Petto do a bunch of EOs while the people who supposed to write law were busy during the Impeachment. That was the order of business. A Impeachment that made no sense because Orange Man was gone. And if Joe Petto was going to be such a great president, you wouldn't have to worry about Orange Man running again. You see the issue here? And I know a lot of people are waking up to this. But with the greatest show on earth unfolding each and every day, what's going to be the next distraction? Because there is an agenda here. And the Great Reset, brought to you by the crypto. Because you know they're not going to make gold and silver what would be constitutional money. They're not going to make that the money. Are they? Do you really think? No. It's going to go to something that they can trace easily, don't have to print a dang thing for, don't have to produce a thing for, just somebody typing in some digits. Oh, we need $4 trillion? Just type it in digits. There's $4 trillion. And the value of your digital dollar, your crypto dollar, will be worth whatever they say it's worth. And if there was some bug in the system, maybe somebody hacked something or other, all of a sudden, there goes your bank account. Maybe your history is exposed to the world. What a great future the world leaders, the masters of reality, are bringing us. And many are just following right along, buying into every little thing that is produced to make that eventual enterprise happen. The world order that's coming up next. That we're almost there, folks. We're in the transition period when 31 and 13 join. Once it becomes 8, well, then we'll see that world order rear its ugly head, and people will be like, how did this happen? How did this happen? And if there's voices like myself, we're going to say it happened because you let it happen. You encouraged it to happen. You bought into the things that would make it happen. So in essence, you supported what was happening. So you can't complain about it. You want constitutional rule, you want the Constitution to be the rule of the land, then you have to live constitutionally, and you have to force it on the government. Had somebody say, oh, we got to change the Constitution. It's outdated. I'm like, what part? Name me an article in the Constitution that's outdated. And they stare at you. Because you don't know. You just bought in to that mindset, that conspiracy theory that we need to change the Constitution. I hear that and I'm like, okay, what do we need to change? Tell me the article that we need to change. They can't do it because they don't even know the Constitution. If they knew the Constitution, they would have known the impeachment was unconstitutional, but they didn't. So they watched it on TV like lemmings. Oh, impeachment, the greatest show on earth. Let's sell advertising for it. It's absolutely ridiculous. And when I hear patriots telling you, oh, communism, socialism, collectivism, and then they go right ahead and promote the thing that's going to make it come to fruition. It's hilarious. And not like I'm going to change a thing. So I sit here and I'm just going to comment on it. Why the heck? And I'll bring up certain things like give you the definition of what crypto means. Now you know. You run with it the way you want. But if you want little news items and all that, I read it. And sometimes. I'm so sick of it because now it's all propaganda. You don't know what's good, bad, and the ugly. And it depends on who's producing the propaganda to whatever slant you want. So I just make my judgment call on what I actually know and can prove. And if we all did that, nobody would share anything because most of it is a form of propaganda one way or the other. And we might actually cut through all the garbage. We might actually get to some truths, which are elusive at best to find. Incredible. Just incredible. But if we want this, it's going to happen. Remember, folks, it's only going to happen if you participate. The mass poker is only going to happen if everybody allows themselves to get the poke. The masks is only being allowed because people are wearing the mask. They're allowing those mandates, those dictatorial edicts to dominate what they do. Civil disobedience says, no, I don't think I'm going to do that. One, I don't see the evidence that supports what you're telling me to do. They can tell you all day. What the numbers that they have at their disposal say. And that's great. That doesn't make it factual, true, 100% honest. You can manipulate data in many different ways. And when you see the data on some of the main sites that, they say are the ones they're taking the data from, sometimes, and a lot of times, some of those numbers don't add up. But what you going to do about it? Well, folks, guess we're going to talk about that in the future because we're at the end of the show. Thanks for tuning in. And until the vibrations of my vocal cords reach your ears again, I'm John Lebang, thanking you for being a loyal listener. We'll see you again right here on the John Lebang Show. We're out of here.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5,